Hello, welcome to the Dispatch podcast here on Your Experience Guide, episode 4. And I'm Scott, Becca, Stephen. Stephen, what are we talking about?
They were on about the Grand Prix and how it's going to be, well, it has already been flattened at this point. It's gone. It's gone.
I thought you meant Lewis Hamilton joining Ferrari. Wrong Grand Prix.
Has he actually?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that, actually. We do the Formula 1 on a Friday. That's as far as my knowledge goes. So, it's really funny, to be fair.
Yeah, if anyone's got a PlayStation 4 or 5 and you fancy joining us on F1 23 at some point, let us know, because we're all rubbish.
We need a full grid.
We need a full grid.
Full grid Monte Carlo.
Yeah.
It'll be amazing.
So you know when we said off camera that this would go off track eventually? I didn't think it'd take 60 seconds, but anyway.
It's not off track, we're literally on the wrong Grand Prix track.
Yeah, literally. We've ended up at Monaco, and what we actually wanted to do is end up at Blackpool. So we're going to go back to the subject of Blackpool, like one of our events was called back in the day, and talk about what we think might replace the Grand Prix. Now, because I know that you've not thought about this, Becca, what would you like them to replace the Grand Prix with?
What I would like them to do is also get rid of Avalanche, but swap it out for a Mack Big Dipper.
Oh, okay.
That's a good shout, that.
Because I've been asking Mac for years to come and retrieve Avalanche to give us something better, so we could just, properly utilise that space and put something like that in. I think it'd be fantastic for the Pleasure Beach lineup.
There you go. Mac product for Mac products.
Yeah.
That works. I like that.
Yeah, and I know that'd be taking out another ride. However, if you're going to utilise the space for something of that quality, I'm not a massive fan of Mac products, as we like to say.
What is it with you two today?
I don't
constantly
know,
having a go at Mac.
But the Mac Big Dipper is fantastic. And Mac water coasters, I've been asking for them for years.
Yeah.
Like, I am often on their side, but other coaster-wise, Mac Big Dipper, I don't think the loss of the Grand Prix... Charlie will hear me saying this and he'll be really angry at me because he loves it, but it's not a great loss.
No, it isn't.
So, to do 2 into 1, I could take that.
Yeah, for context, our boy is called
Yeah.
Charlie, and he loved the Grand Prix, and then for the whole season it was closed. He was constantly nagging me. When can we go on the Grand Prix? You're not going on it, son. Sorry.
Yeah.
But I'm sure he's getting more and more into coasters, so I'm sure if they replace it with a coaster, because I think it'll be a family coaster that they replace it with, so maybe. We're going to get onto the space of it shortly, but I think there'll probably be a family attraction that replaces it. But again, we don't really know. There's a lot of rumours out there. I've heard Intamin single rail, I've heard RMC single rail, I've heard Mack powered coasters. Ooh. So there's a lot of rumours. A lot of people are saying, are they going to put a gyro swing there? I don't think there's the clearance for it. I mean, you might get the gyro in, but whether you get it swinging in that space, I'm really not sure.
I don't think it's really what you want as a centrepiece to your park as well, because that is kind of the heart, so you need something that looks good in there.
I feel like a gyro swing needs to have good views as well, and I don't feel like you'd get a good view of the park being on a gyro swing in that space. I think if you're going to put a flat ride in that area, I'm putting one of the S&S screaming swings where the monorail station was, so you're going up and over that big drop underneath, a bit like Leesburg's on the side of the cliff. But what do you think, Steve? What do you think they're going to do? What would you like them to do?
I had some great ideas for the space. I was like, oh, it's massive. It takes up a massive footprint. And then we went to have a look at it a few weeks ago, and it was like, actually, it's not as big as you think. That spiral... I just thought it was huge because it does feel like it's quite a large, a large track, doesn't it, when you see it? But now it's gone. It's actually not as big as I thought it was. So I think you're going to struggle to put a coaster in. I think we're going to be talking more flat rides with this. I do believe that it should be replaced with a family ride because it was a family ride. I think a family ride should go in its place, or a similar attraction where you put in some kind of small transportation ride and maybe a family thrill ride above it. Or you can definitely fit a couple of rides in. I know I said the spiral's a small space, but if you take the rest of it in, you probably could put a small tracked ride in along with at like some kind of family thrill ride. I would like to also add that they still have the Eddie Stobart trucks, which are kind of a similar experience to the Grand Prix, and has a little bit better capacity and is more for kids, which it's aimed at. So I do think that they have got like, it's still covered, that type of ride still covered, so it'd be nice to see something else go in. I do think they have got quite a good mix of smaller transportation rides. You've got the Pleasure Beach Express, still a lot of parks took away their trains.
Yeah.
Don't give them ideas.
No, they won't. I hope they won't get rid of it, because I love the Pleasure Beach Express, and I think a lot of the other parks do maybe a bit too hasty on taking out their train attractions, because I think it's great for the whole family to go on.
Yeah.
And you just want to get away from the hustle and bustle for a bit, get yourself onto the Pleasure Beach Express. So I think that really they'd be looking at some kind of family thrill ride. What that would look like, I don't really know. I don't really know what's out there from the manufacturers that would fill that gap. So I'd have to go the next level up and say thrill. I think like an S&S 4D coaster would fit quite well in that space. They're quite a small footprint, long footprint. It probably would fit in on the side in that location. But I don't necessarily agree that is what should go in now. I do think it should be some kind of...
That's your Revolution replacement.
I hope not.
But I can see a Mack powered coaster in that space, because obviously you got the long station.
Yeah.
You have it come out, does a spiral like Grand Prix, bit like what a lot of those coasters do, and it goes along under the bridge, all the way up to the big one, uses the space, comes back past Icon, round the spirals, back into the station. Very uninspiring layout for us as thrill seekers, but for kids, they'd love it. For families, it's another coaster for them to get their teeth into, and it's something in between Blue Flyer and whatever's next in the pecking order.
From this, I'm getting the feeling you two are a lot more clear on Pleasure Beach's audience than I am. Because I am...
No!
Right, for the last few years, I've been very confused at who the Pleasure Beach want to come. You know who's expected to go to Thorpe. You kind of get who's meant to be going to Towers. So when they're getting new rides, you know what level they're aiming at. Like, you know if Thorpe's putting something in, it's going to be big, it's going to be fast, or, it's going to do something thrilling. If Towers are, it's going to be kind of middle ground. It's not going to be that level, but it's also not going to be children's, small children level. Yeah, exactly. Whereas Pleasure Beach, it's like, what are you doing? What do you want to be doing? What are we expected to expect from Pleasure Beach these days? Because we're way past the point of expecting something big. Yeah, we know that's not going to happen.
No.
But they've also not really done anything small. So I can't tell what to expect from them anymore. I don't feel like there's a clear audience for Pleasure Beach anymore.
I think it's an interesting point, and I feel like that might be why they've rebranded to Pleasure Beach Resort, because I feel like that is their reboot. It's kind of like them rebooting what they want people to see them as, but they're still on that journey. And maybe they rebooted too early, I don't know, or rebranded too early. But I feel like we're going to see a mix of different stuff going in. I feel like the Pleasure Beach Resort rebrand was part of like a new journey for them. I obviously don't know this for definite, but that's how I feel about it. Whereas years ago, if they'd have closed the Grand Prix, it'd have sat there for a long time. Yeah. Whereas now, this time, they've got rid of it straight away. And hopefully, when we go in the park on opening weekend, proper opening weekend, not Nickelodeon one, I'm hoping that you'll look at it and go, groundwork's been done, or some sort of groundwork's been done. On the other side of it, you've got the Bowlerdrome, which is allegedly going to be coming down along with Planet Rock. Now, that is where your thrill ride's going. Yeah. So if you put in, say, an Intamin gyro swing in there, like's been rumoured, and then you put a family coaster where a Grand Prix is, they've done what they used to do really well, and they've covered both. But at the minute, without knowing what exactly they're doing, it's difficult to say this is the direction or that's the direction. But I feel like, obviously, I was quite critical of the Pleasure Beach Resort rebranding. Yep. And for me, it'll always be Blackpool Pleasure Beach. But after a year, they're still calling themselves Pleasure Beach Resort. So I feel like in videos this year, we're probably going to have to call them Pleasure Beach Resort because they haven't switched it back as quick as I expected, which is fair enough. I hope it does work for them. But I think I know what you mean. It's been difficult because Icon, what box did Icon fit in? Because it looks like a thrill coaster, but
it's really not.
We could take Charlie on
not.
it. Charlie's up, like, let's say Charlie grows another 2 centimetres soon.
Yeah,
he's tall enough for it.
Yeah.
So would a 7-year-old who's still scared of coasters want to go on Icon? Someone's 7-year-old will. Ours might not want to. So where does Icon fit into all of this, and what is the direction of the park is an interesting point.
Yeah, because along with that, with the resort thing, that confuses things as well. Because certainly from my point of view, a resort is where an old person's going to go and book their holiday. For me, that word just doesn't work for them. It sounds more old and old-fashioned and not fitting. I just can't. I don't understand what they want out of that word.
Yeah. See, it's a difficult one because I kind of see why they're trying to separate themselves from being like Blackpool Pleasure Beach, for example, because everyone's got a perception of Pleasure Beach of it's a free entry, fairground, the rides disappear and change every year, but things like the big ones stay. Yeah. And that's generally, if you go on Facebook, obviously we still post a lot of Blackpool stuff. And the first thing that we always get is that fairground should be free. So I feel like with a new brand, they're trying to do something different, but obviously time will tell if it works. They've tried the Pleasure Beach Resort thing in the past. I don't know if it worked, but they changed back.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see how it goes. But it is a fair point. What is the target audience for the new coaster? We better let you speak.
I was listening. I think it's a very good point about what is their target audience, and I think that they might have lost sight with that a little bit because they've been focused very much on keeping everything going as it is, rather than innovating with new things. As you can tell when you go around the park, like there's a lot of older attractions. That's not saying they're bad. It's just that the people enjoy them and people love them. So why change it? If it's working. I do think they've been a bit comfortable with relying on that and not being innovative. However, the likes of Icon was a great step forward to kind of modernise the park and modernise the look. So I'm all for it. But again, it's like you said, Icon, it's very, like when I got shot down when I first did it and I said, that's a family thrill coaster. It feels like a family thrill coaster. And like, no, it's high thrill and extreme. I was like, just to me, it isn't. Like, but the thing is, if you look at it, it looks like it's an extreme coaster. So that would put people off who might want to go on it. So I do think that Pleasure Beach have a good mix of thrill and family at the moment. I think that they've got the perfect setup as it is currently, so there's something for everybody. I think it's important they keep that kind of ratio. I don't really want to see them move into like the more the family side, or I know they say families make money. That's great. I think Universal Islands of Adventure in Orlando, I've said many times, is the best family park because there's literally something for everybody there to do. So you've got like the kids area, you've got some thrill coasters, you've got stuff that everyone can do together. It's a perfect mix, and in my opinion, that's the best theme park you can get.
Yeah, now, I can really agree with that because I'm someone who's been there from opening and grown up along with that.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it thoroughly as a child when it opened, to get into the bigger stuff, and now enjoying everything, and now being at the point of seeing it and thinking, yeah, that'll be great for my little one. So I really agree with that. It's really done well there.
I think Pleasure Beach actually do it better than a lot of other parks in the UK as well, with having like a good mix of rides and attractions. It is just a shame that a lot of them are older attractions now, and I really want to see some new things. So we've got a bit of space now.
Yes.
So you suggested Mac Power Coaster. I actually, you know what? I think that is a good idea.
I mean, you say I suggested it. It's just I can imagine it. I personally wouldn't go with that, but I can see how they would, because obviously you've got the Mac connection, but also I can see how a powered coaster can do that because it doesn't need to have a lift hill. It doesn't need to have the energy to get back because it's powered. It's got the energy there. They could do whatever they want with that layout. For me, I don't know if I'd be like, oh yeah, great choice. I don't know if I'd feel underwhelmed by it if it happened. I'm kind of prepared for something like that because as we've seen, they don't have a lot of space. I don't know what the answer is for a family coaster, because it's not something that I want to sort of be like, yeah, I want them to do this. Whereas, as obviously, I'd like to see family stuff, because I enjoy going on coasters with our son more than anything else. But at the same time, it's like, as a thrill seeker, how do you sort of go, this is what I want in a family coaster? It's hard to kind of pitch what you want to see. I actually think that Gold Rush at Drayton is a great family coaster, but I think it's more leans towards being a kids coaster than a family coaster, because it's got a 1 metre restriction and it is extremely tame, and it's got great technology, but I'm not sure that's what Pleasure Beach need, for example. I don't know if that would work for them.
No, but as we know with Intamin, that they will make more thrilling versions of their family coaster. Now, the issue with that is I don't know if they necessarily... Pleasure Beach have the space for an Intamin family coaster, because they're relatively quite big and not very compact. But another interesting possibility would be RMC have kind of been pushing out a lot of family coasters at the moment, wanting to build one with a small footprint. Like potentially something like that could fit in with the powered coaster, like you said. It doesn't have to necessarily be ground level.
No,
it can go up and down. Like you've got all kinds of movements they can do with that. So you could customize that layout to work within Avalanche as well. So even though the Grand Prix isn't as big as we thought, you've also got that space headroom above, which Pleasure Beach used to handle really well, and we saw it really well at Gronerland.
Yes.
How rides can be built on top of rides on top of rides.
What you mean, like four coasters using the same support structure?
Exactly.
That big central bit, and it just got coasters built all around it.
Well, it was always Pleasure Beach that they said, if you can put a station in,
you can put a coaster.
You can put a coaster in.
Yeah.
So one thing I think... So my mind, when you were talking about that kind of level of family coaster, but edging on the thrill, I was thinking, the popular thing at the minute is these kiddies boomerangs.
Yeah, the Vekoma ones.
When you actually think about it, that's a terrible idea because the capacity.
Yeah.
I love the idea. In reality, though, it'd be horrific. I really do think, especially if it is going to be something to that younger audience, it needs to have the capacity so that the younger audience are willing to wait for it.
Yeah.
You know, it's got to be good enough that they're willing to wait and come and cause a queue. But I think that you have to make sure it's something that will shift the queue.
Yeah.
I think that was the issue with Grand Prix, wasn't it, as
literally.
well? Like they only had, I think I saw it once with like 4 cars, and it's like, who's got the patience to wait for this?
Yeah, people have less and less patience. It's just the world that we're in, everything happens quicker.
Yeah.
So we've got to take that into account when rides are going in, that people expect things quicker.
That's the thing with like the Vekoma boomerang. I can actually, in my head, I can see that working. You know, again, you've got the old Grand Prix station. You've got a lift hill that goes backwards towards Nickland. That'd be really high, by the way.
Yeah.
And then it could go out and use that space and boomerang back as they do. You probably wouldn't need a lot of space to do it, but it's a one-train coaster.
Yeah.
Is it enough? Is a one-train ride enough? Obviously, a Mack-powered coaster, the trains are massive. They take, 40-odd people a time.
Yeah.
So you're taking more than, the big one a time. But a boomerang coaster, I'm not so sure.
No, the idea, it initially fits in. You know, if we're playing Planet Coaster here, you'd go, yes, I'll chuck that one in. But in reality, no, it'd look great, it'd fit great, but it just wouldn't work.
You mentioned Planet Coaster. I'm changing the subject to Planet Coaster too. So in terms of Pleasure Beach and the Grand Prix, please let us know in the comment section below what you want them to do with that space. And obviously when we're in there on opening weekend, I'm sure me and Stephen will do a video again all about it, because we'll be able to assess the space, get you some footage of what they've done with that area, and we'll have a good chat about it, whether it'll be in here or at Pleasure Beach. I don't know, but I'm sure we'll do a video about it around that time. But for now, it's a podcast. We're on free roam, basically. Planet Coaster 2. I've put in about 80 hours gaming time on it. I know you've done about 40 hours. I know you've done about 300 hours.
You don't want to know how many hours I've done on it.
Go on, how many hours?
It's not 300, but it's definitely over 100. I think I'm like 125-ish.
Yeah.
I reckon
So-
you're more than that.
No, it's about, you know what, I can probably find out. I'll find out and you can pop it in here.
Yeah, it tells you on PlayStation.
Yeah, it does
So,
on Steam. So, I've pumped a lot of hours into it. So I know the game pretty well now.
You liking it?
At first, I didn't. I feel like they did initially release an unfinished game.
Yeah.
It was unplayable.
Yes, I agree.
And I think that Frontier have worked hard to fix it, but I think they've kind of tarnished the brand a little bit because a lot of people are saying, "Oh, don't bother with Planet Coaster 2 because the game doesn't work." And I think that's a real shame that they just didn't spend that extra couple of months just fine-tuning the bugs. I get the impression it was kind of like a reskinned Planet Coaster. They've taken a lot out and then just pushed it out there and just to see how it kind of went. And unfortunately for Frontier, that went quite badly. Which, you know, I don't know why a lot of games are doing this. It's not just Planet Coaster 2. City Skylines 2 is another recent one which came out, and they haven't been able to recover from their release. Like, I believe the playership of the original is still higher than the second one.
It's bad that when that happens, isn't it?
Yeah, I do think that's happened with Planet Coaster 2, but yeah, it was a shame. There's all sorts of weird things happening with the game. People standing in like the middle of roller coaster tracks. And
They keep going and sitting in bins on one of my scenarios. It's really weird. It's quite disturbing.
I think the other thing that I really found annoying was that to complete the campaign, which I have done now, you have to have zoned staff.
Yeah.
And there's a bug where you can zone your staff, but they won't actually do any work if you zone them. So they just kind of wander around doing nothing. So that was a big problem because that makes it really hard to like finish the game as it's supposed to be because it doesn't work.
Yeah.
They have fixed a lot of these problems that we're talking about now with patches and updates, with another one coming early February. I think it's February the 13th, which will hopefully then...
And that's got a bit more to it, that one as well.
Yeah,
that does look like a decent update.
It's not just a band-aid over the problem.
Yeah.
They've spent a bit of time working on it. So hopefully after February it'll be a lot better. But I have noticed a big improvement from when the game launched. I think the December update was probably the biggest one for me.
Yes.
I actually made it playable when that came out. So I've really enjoyed it. Since December, I've started my own. I have a little YouTube channel where I do gaming and things.
Go on, advertise it. Tell everyone what the channel is. So come on.
Tycoon Terminal, and it's only a small channel. It's just me nattering for 45 minutes.
It is good
So-
though.
It's a damn good channel.
I do build quite a lot of interesting things. So at the moment, I've just done like a Viking area.
The attention to detail is amazing.
I do quite like having like the more technical side, like the service bays for the coasters, and adding all that in. But again, a 45-minute episode that I do will be the best part of like 8 hours, just to give you some context of like how much time goes into like doing these things. So it is hard to fit that in amongst everything else I do, because obviously I do a job to keep going. So you know that takes priority a lot, and you know if I can't work around it, then unfortunately I don't get the episode up. So, but yeah, it's overall I've enjoyed the game. I've completed the campaign. How far through have you got?
So we're on to chapter 3 currently.
Are you doing well?
Yeah, Becca's
I'm
on 4, I think. Yeah,
No,
yeah.
I'm
You've just started chapter 3. I'm at the end of chapter 2. I think I've really enjoyed playing the game as well as getting really angry with it at the same time. There's some things that you just look at, and as someone that spends a lot of time in theme parks, it really annoys me, some of the stuff I see. Like when, for example, I just started a scenario the other day, and one of the paths, when you walk around it, it's got a railing stopping anyone getting into the toilet.
But
the guests are just walking through the railing.
But that's what they've put in, nothing that we've done. That's
a preset that Frontier have done.
They built that like that.
Yeah, so it's literally, there's a rail that goes across the toilet. The path's not connected to the toilet, but they just walk through the railing anyway.
Why not? Railings mean nothing.
And then the other one that makes me laugh is when you're building a coaster and then you think, oh yeah, I've put this really good bit in and I've gone under the coaster, and you watch it test and you've basically built a roller coaster through a water slide. Yeah. And it's like, oh, okay. It's like, why has it not stopped me? Or the other classic one is when you're building another water slide amongst other water slides and you've got a support stanchion there. but it lets you put the end of the ride there, so you've got people coming down on a dinghy and then they crash into the post and just fly off into the pool.
Yeah.
But it doesn't do anything to them. They just start swimming around as if nothing's happened, and it's like, great.
Oh dear.
And it's like everyone's like a Kryptonian man of steel. It's like they're fine, just bounce them off the support structure. They're all good.
Yeah.
Lifeguard not even needed.
No, they just carry on.
To be fair, I haven't really done much with the water park side of things, but yeah, I have noticed there's a few interesting bugs. Like some of the scenarios you have to build water slides.
Yes.
One of them, I think you had to build this dinghy ride, and the dinghy, like you go around a corner, but it's like it's locked flat.
Yeah.
And then it goes into like this little tiny like special piece you have to put in. And then it just goes in like quite quick, probably about 20 mile an hour or so. So not overly fast, but fast enough. And to a 90-degree turn, no bigger than the space we're sat now. And it goes straight out.
Yeah.
I'm like, they must have done a loop-de-loop in there.
One of my favourites of the week was I built a drop slide, and the lifeguard's left leg was part of the structure. So he just disappeared. So he'd got a right leg, and then his left leg was just part of the slide. So I was like, oh, that's a glitch. But then the worst glitch is when the guests were getting in it, they were walking up, but they weren't actually getting in the capsule. The game had them stood outside the front of the capsule, then the drop door would go, and then they fell, and then basically caught up with the tube as they were going. So they were basically outside of the tube, dropped outside of the tube, and then somehow ended up in it. And I'm sat there going, this is ridiculous. I think it was at that point I said to you, I said, I'm done with this game. I'm not playing. The realism of it was winding me up.
Yeah.
But then I ended up playing on it about an hour later anyway. Because the thing is, I find that it's actually a great game. And it's a very addictive game, but it is also so annoying, some of the stuff where it's like, just general stuff where they'll literally get stuck walking on a path, and it's like,
oh, the
what are your
moonwalking
stuff?
stuff doing my head.
Yeah, like moonwalking cleaners.
Yeah.
Like they're
They
there
just
with a
get
brush,
stuck on
just
the
walking.
spot walking, but they can't get to anything.
No,
So when your ride-ups are all stuck, and the other ones go for break, and none of your rides are open, you think, what's going on? And then you find all your staff just moonwalking.
Yeah.
And you have to move them, and then they release.
And then if it happens with cleaners, you're getting constant warnings about, your toilets are dirty, or your engineers getting stuck, and some stuff aren't getting fixed. It's like, what is going on? But
And the notifications. Such and such wants to leave the park and can't find the exit. You click on them, heading to such and such a coaster. Well, they don't want to leave, do they?
nope.
It's just constant notifications about nothing.
Yeah, I imagine it being quite difficult on console, because I'm a PC player. I imagine like it takes me like 8 hours to build something decent. Imagine it takes you on console a lot longer because you're using a joypad. So
and the amount of levels of menu you have to come out of to go on to the next thing. I can see we're on PC, you'd just be able to click over there, but you can't on console.
Not anymore.
Out a 10.
They changed that.
Oh, no.
So we now have all the menus as well. They've made it for console. So
Joke.
Yet when you're on console, you're thinking this would be so much easier on PC.
yeah, not anymore. It used to be, but not anymore.
I was actually going to get it on PC, but I'm. Now you've said that, it might not be worth it.
I'd probably hold off a little bit. I believe they are working on the UI, so hopefully they'll be able to eliminate some of that extra.
Yeah.
Like even like things like the close button on some of the menus doesn't work on PC, so you can't like actually click it.
Yeah.
It's like a placebo. You click it, it's not closing.
Yeah.
You keep going away.
How could a game that's so good be so bad at the same time? The annoying thing for me is, like in terms of games, a favourite all-time game for me is just ruined now, like FIFA. Obviously, it's lost its branding, it's EA FC now, but it's been a bad game for a while, but now it's really bad, and it's like even the share price of EA's dropped lately because so many people are just not buying it. And I hope that Planet Coaster just keeps getting better and better and better, but I hope if there's ever a Planet Coaster 3 that they actually announce it and then release it a year later when they've actually fully developed the game, and then we don't all have to sit in these places and moan about it being frustrating whilst being really good. But yeah, I think it's a great game overall. I think once the bugs are fixed, I'm going to spend even more time on it. I'm absolutely refusing to do a sandbox park until I've done all the campaigns this time. Cause,
and I'm the same.
Yeah, I want to kind of learn the game on the campaigns and then go and build something really good in sandbox. And on PlayStation, obviously you get the trophies, and I want the trophy for the 5-star park at some point.
Yeah.
So
I didn't realise that was a sandbox thing. I was sitting there going, look, I did it, and then, oh, where's my trophy? Where's my trophy?
Yeah. Oh, and the other thing about trophies is there's a trophy that if you build a coaster with excitement over 7, you get a trophy. What they meant is excitement over 8. Because I built a coaster that had excitement of 7.97, and I was like, where's my trophy? So I took the brake run out, which meant it was going into the station at like 40 miles per hour. Opened it, and I got my trophy because it put the excitement up. It's just to give everyone like broken like hips and whiplash on that final corner because there's no brakes. But
I know one of the things you messaged me about it, and they did an update in December which basically changed like the limits of being able to build to ground level, and the monorail's already placed for you if you remember this one.
Yes.
And then because they've changed this since the original release, and then they added this like more realism so you can't clip things, it then prevents you from being able to build the monorail. I remember you having an absolute nightmare trying to get it to go, and I think there was one position you managed to like just get it to accept it, but you shouldn't really be having that issue with a game scenario. Like, you should be fixing that. But
one thing I do like is they've got a Blackpool Pleasure Beach option when you're building coasters. You can have how tall it actually is, or you can change it to sea level, which is quite interesting. Yeah, there is
sea level option.
Yeah.
So when you're on that one with a dodgy monorail and you change it to sea level, you've got the world's tallest coaster straight away.
Oh, I didn't know that. I think like there are some really good positives with the game. I think that some of the additions that have been added, like one of my favourites is the Intamin multi-dimension coaster, or the Ultimax, as they call it on the game. Obviously, it's based on the 13 train style.
Yes.
Which means a lot to me. I love that coaster for no specific reason, but it's I think that the realism of it was quite good, and I really like the realism of how the drop track works as well.
Yeah.
Like, it's not perfect, but it's close enough to be like good enough for a game anyway. And that actually really impressed me because they probably haven't seen how that looks in real life.
Yeah.
So to actually get it that accurate is like, I was quite impressed with how accurate that drop track is in the game. I'm not sure about some of the other elements, but like the drop track section on that is like pretty much bob on for how it is in real life. So I actually enjoy how it allows you to build these coasters with block sections and have that almost realism part of it. It's just a shame that some of them bugs exist, but overall I think it is progress. It's just a shame they released it, like you say, too soon. They should have spent an extra 2, 3, 4 months finishing the game, then said, here's a game that's finished, or even done a pre-release, so like they
did with the original.
Yeah, so like, release it to people who want to like maybe pay a little bit more support Frontier in building the game in the first place, but just put it out there and say this isn't finished. Have a play with it, find the problems, and then once they're fixed, like release the game to everyone. Because having a buggy game is bad on PC. I imagine it's even worse on console.
It can be annoying. I think what they've done is they've basically gone, it's close season. Let's get the game out, give them all something to do over winter. And I get it, it's fine doing that, but I feel like maybe they should have released it at the end of this year and give themselves all that time. Because we were all happy playing on the original one. We were in no rush. So I certainly wasn't. I was quite happy playing on the old one. Just waiting for the new one to come out. So
I think that the issue they've got now is that it's been so negatively received that I just hope they don't terminate the game early, thinking, oh, well, no one's happy with this game. We're just going to cut it and cut our losses and move back to Planet Zoo, which is the other franchise of Frontier. I really hope they don't do that, because I think Planet Zoo's had a lot more love in that game. I think it has sold more.
Online, that always comes up, the comparisons. I've not played it, but the comparisons are strong out there.
Yeah. I feel like the development team of the second one has been very different to the first one as well. You can clearly tell that someone else has been working on the game. I don't think necessarily they are as committed to like the realism of real life, because like a lot of the old editions are fine, but when they've gone into the new things, I think only the Intamin coaster is probably the only thing that I'd say is like pretty close to being relatively real. There's some of the flat rides they put in, I'm like, does that actually exist?
Yeah, I know what you
I don't
mean.
think it does. It's just like someone's come and made up. And this is the issue I had with, I don't know if you remember Thrillville and some of the other
Never
games on the
played that
PlayStation. They were just like, it wasn't very real. It was just
Yeah.
rides of some thing that someone could draw on a piece
Yeah.
of paper and go, oh, that'd be cool. I do quite like having that realism factor.
Same.
So I really hope they don't strive away. And I also hope they are going to release some expansion packs so you can get like I'd love the interim multi-launch coaster in there.
Yeah.
I'd love to see like proper swing launches in there. I'd love to see, so much I'd love to see in there. There's so much new rides, especially even like the drop towers and flat rides. There's so many more now from when the game released that haven't been put into the game yet. So there is work for them to put in more. And I don't think people would mind paying, £8 or £10 to get, 4 new coasters, 4 new flat rides and some theming pack, because the theming at the moment is probably the hardest part of the game for me. I don't know if you've found
quite weak.
It's very weak.
You're very limited. Now, I know you can make like anything look like something else.
Yeah, but the effort that you have to go on to do that.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that's why it takes 8 hours to do.
Because, like, on console, what I'm finding quite frustrating is you can have, say, a wall of one size. You choose your colours for it and everything, you put that in, then you need a slightly different shaped wall to go around the track. So then you've got to sit and do all your colours again. And then then you have to go back to another piece, and then you've got to set all the colours for that again, just to get everything to match. And it takes so long.
Yeah.
So long.
There's no need for it to take that long. I mean, at the end of the day, as much as we all want to create cool stuff, it is a game at the end of the day where we just want to have fun on it. And sometimes I do feel like that has been taken away with, like, for example, the power stuff, the water filters and all that. And, like, that does my head in on the campaign mode, because it's
Staff breaks.
I know it's realistic and I get that, but why do I need to be putting in a power cable and then while I'm doing it, it's going, oh, this thing's happening, that thing's happening. And every time I go and fix something else, it moans at it. It's like, I've called this to have fun, not micromanage people that aren't real on a game. It's like, okay, surely the game can manage to power a roller coaster itself, or surely the game can manage to sort out staff breaks without me having to do bloody zones. But yeah,
I think that's the biggest disconnect for me is the staffing, because
Yeah.
you like to look at your park, and in Roller Coaster Tycoon and Parkitect and the other ones, when you do your staffing, you look at your park throughout doing that. Whereas on Planet Coaster, it takes you to another menu, and you're now not looking at the park, you're just clicking through people, you're managing.
Yeah.
And that's a little bit boring, because you've been taken away from the actual park experience to like another menu. And I think if they somehow manage to think of a way of still allowing that, but you see your park and have it a bit more physical and clicking on where you want them to work and where you want them to go to, would be a better way of doing it, rather than just having to drop down menu, I'm looking for food stall 1, 2, 3, etc. It's just a little bit boring. But yeah, I think that you should look at that and maybe rework it. But I think overall now, the game is probably acceptable to play.
Yeah.
Just like
Until
it's still a
it
buggy
rains.
until it rains.
You
Some
can't
of the
see
rain
anything.
is so heavy that you just can't. Like, you'll be in the middle of building a coaster, and then you just have to wait, and it's frustrating because you cannot see a thing.
I believe you could turn it off now. You could turn weather off. They did an update.
Changing the light works for us, but changing the weather doesn't seem to work.
I'm sure it does on PC. I've not had that issue with the rain myself, but yeah.
We need to assess that.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We need to have a look at that. But moving on from Planet Coaster 2, I'm definitely going to put you both on the spot here.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Currently, what is your best roller coaster? And obviously you had your trip to California last year. So what would you say is the best roller coaster you've ever been on? It's easy for him. I know what he's going to say already.
It's difficult. I mean, the first one that comes to mind is a more recent one, but then there's my kind of all-time favourites that have sat there, then jump up. So first to mind, the first thing that popped into my head was Ghost Rider.
Yeah.
Like, I really enjoyed that. But would it be at the top? I'm not sure. But then I've always loved the Hulk, and I've always loved Kumba.
Yeah.
Like, those have always been my top coasters.
Yeah.
And I don't think anything's been good enough to take the top spot off of them. there might be better rides, but they've just not replaced it for me.
Yeah.
Although I think Ghost Rider's maybe the one that's mingling in with them.
Yeah.
Because it's not shifting, it's still the one that I'm desperate to get back on.
Am I right in saying that you are one of the lucky few of 2024 last year that managed to get on Superman
I did!
at Magic Mountain?
What a good coaster that is. I mean, we only had like a 10-minute window to get on it while it was operational, but my God, it was worth it. So, so good. Even better if you forget that what direction it launches in. Because I was sat there going, does this launch backwards or do you turn? Do you go forward? Because when you sat in that car, there's a lot of space in front of you, and I'm thinking, does it launch backward or does it turn? And then we were up there. We were gone. It was like, oh, yeah, okay. That's how it works.
Yeah, it's like a track that goes on the other side. So
Yeah.
that's for if the LSMs go out of sync. There's like a permanent eddy current brake that runs off. So sometimes it will just go straight through the station and out through the back. There is some footage on YouTube of that happening with some people. But
Yeah.
imagine just waiting at the base and the coaster coming back and then, zhunk.
Yeah.
That was meant to stop here.
But when you're sitting there half expected to inch forward a bit and then you're just off so quickly, it's like, oh, wow, okay. But that was really good. And I'm very, very glad that we got that.
And you got Accelerator too.
I did. What a ride that is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Clearly, what all the rest are doing wrong, they're going over the top hat the wrong way because Accelerator's amazing. That direction thing clearly made some difference because they got it spot on.
I reckon you'd like that. It's basically Stealth and Rita
Yeah,
bolted together, isn't it?
Well, it was the prototype of the hydraulic launch coasters, and when you look at it compared to like Rita, it actually operates in a very different way. It might have changed now, but I know like when I remember seeing it on videos that on Rita, the brakes actually lower in pairs, and it's a different pair that goes down each time. So when you're standing in the queue line, you'll notice that I can't remember if it's 4 or 5 sets, but you'll see like one will go down and then 4 will stay up, and then the next one will go down, and then 4 will stay up. Whereas on Accelerator, just all drop in one go.
Yeah.
So there's like not as much monitoring on the brake fins there.
And you're launching from the station. You're not moving out, sitting, waiting. You just ride ops, chat, and you're gone. That's it. You are gone. It's so good.
That's like the Rita experience when Steve was
Yeah.
having
Do
a
you know,
good giggle.
people still comment on that POV going, I can't believe you got the Ugland audio. It's like, no, it's my mate talking on this. It's like, honestly, literally someone commented the other day saying, this is amazing. How did you get a POV of Ugland Rita in this quality? It's like, I didn't. I filmed it in 2019 where the guy that was operating it just decided to read the spiel out randomly.
Yeah, it's good to be able to have a laugh with people, and I think Rita was a great ride for that, and Accelerator is as well. There's a lot of chance for the operator to interact with people with the PA system. There's some rides where, you can't really do that, like 13, for instance. I would not be on the PA, talking away, because it would take away from the actual ambience of the ride.
Yeah.
Whereas Rita's like, race car, you got to escape, so let's have a giggle.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good stuff.
Best coaster.
Best coaster.
Velocicoaster.
There you go. I didn't even need to say. A Velocicoaster is just an amazing machine. And I think that the combination of theming and roller coaster technology, just all combined into one experience, is just amazing for me. I did kind of teeter a little bit. I was like, is Gotham City
I've
better?
had the same problem.
Because I think that if you just take the hardware, Gotham City is probably better, in my opinion, than a Velocicoaster. But I absolutely love Velocicoaster. I absolutely love Gotham City as well. It's so hard to compare the two. And to be fair, I say the theming on Gotham City is not that bad.
It's only when you get past a certain point it just stops. I mean, they've still got little things, like obviously you've got the Poison Ivy on the launch, you've got Harley Quinn towards the end, obviously you've got the audio the whole way through. The issue I've got with Gotham City Escape is the queuing thing is just, it ruins the whole experience, because the best bit of theming, you just walk straight past it. I don't understand that. The thing is, I actually did those two coasters within 10 days of each other recently, and I still can't separate them. But what is a great Intamin as well is Tiger, Lennon Mackie, and you need to get on it.
That's one I've not done.
Yeah.
I've heard good things. So
Yeah.
it's one of I thought personally it looked the weaker of the three, but
Yeah.
I would like to go and experience it because, like I said, I heard
I think it is the
things
weaker of the three because the first bit of it is like Velocicoaster but without the theming.
Yeah.
But I think we could wrap it up there on episode 4 of the Dispatch podcast here on Your Experience Guide. If you have enjoyed this episode, please hit the like button. It's a little thumbs up below. Please comment. We'd love to see your comments. And even though Becca's technically not a guest, let us know if you'd like to see more guests with me and Stephen on the podcast, because we're certainly open to that. And we've got a list of people we're going to get in touch with soon. And hopefully we can keep making it a little bit different like this one.
Yeah, hopefully.
It's something that we're going to keep working on to improve over time. But that's all for today. I'll try and improve on my talking as well. But yeah, that is all for today. If you have enjoyed this video, please let us know in the comment section below. Please subscribe. Many thanks for watching. See you next time.